guys, welcome to another episode of Smash JT. Nintendo has completely changed their DRM policies on the Nintendo Switch to allow users to actually access content on a second Switch without going to hell trying to figure out how to do so. Smash JT. This is wild news. Just last week we found out that they got rid of the Creators Club program, and going forward they're not going to be claiming content for YouTube creators playing any of their video games or any of their music or talking about anything Nintendo's doing. As long as they're actually creating a new video about it, they're not going to claim it. And that is incredible news and something I never saw coming from Nintendo. But their new leadership has changed dramatically from how they used to look at technology previously. And now Nintendo has changed their actual DRM policies, allowing users to be able to purchase a game on the eShop from their primary console and then load it up on a secondary console and be able to play it. Previously I made a video talking about how atrocious the DRM policies were on the Nintendo Switch originally, where you had to buy a game on the primary console, and if you had a second console you would not be able to play that game unless you completely signed out of your online account from Nintendo on the Switch, remove the primary system from your name, and then move it all to the second console, load it all up, sign in, then be able to download the game, then be able to play it, just to be able to do all that again, just to be able to go back to your original primary console. It was a cluster bleep, and honestly, it wasn't even worth trying to load up games on a secondary system because it rendered your original primary console useless while you were playing games on the secondary system. So now, how they have shifted the DRM policies, you can buy a game on the eShop, load it up on your primary console, and play it. And if you want to play it on a secondary console, the only caveat is you can't be playing it at the same time on your primary console. You can play it on the secondary console and play a different game on your primary console. How is this useful? Well, in my situation, I have two Switches because my son was playing my Switch all the time, and I was trying to play games, review them, test them out, and give my thoughts on it. Every time I played my Switch, my son would try to take my Switch from me, and it was very challenging to get through a lot of games. So I bought a second Switch with the idea that I'd be able to let him play games on it. But it didn't work that way. Unless it was a physical copy of a game, he was not able to play any of the games that I purchased with my own money or that companies had given to me. Now with this policy change, he is able to load up any games from my history of purchases or downloads that I have on my Nintendo Switch and play them. And as long as I'm not playing them at the same time on my primary console, it works perfectly fine. This is a wild shift from what Nintendo used to do, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but Nintendo has completely changed who we used to think they were and how they used to look at technology. Nintendo made a whole long announcement about what they're actually doing, but I feel like this kind of got glazed over by the press and nobody was really talking about it. It's a very big deal. In layman's terms, what they're saying is, it's basically like how Sony handles games on the PlayStation 4 and a secondary console. If you start playing the game on a different console, it will pause saying this is being used on a different console, and you need to go over to that console to stop playing it to play it on a different console. It makes sense. This way you can't just be sharing games with all your friends and giving them your password and account information and letting them play everything, because then you wouldn't be able to play the games that you purchased yourself. So this is an ideal solution to something that people were saying Nintendo would not be able to do because people would be stealing games all the time and sharing them with each other. But right now, the way technology works, this is exactly what I was saying, how Nintendo should handle it. And finally, they did. They got with the times and they made it far better. It was so bad before that many people don't even know this, but if you got Breath of the Wild, the physical cartridge copy of it, and say you downloaded the DLC for it and you wanted to play that on a different system, you were not able to do so. You had to completely delete your game on the original console and then load it up on the new console just to be able to play the DLC on it. Now they allow you to play DLC that you've purchased with your own money on a different console. The only caveat with DLC is you need to make sure the secondary console is connected to the internet. If it leaves the internet for a certain amount of time, which they don't specify and I wasn't able to test out long enough, it will pause the game until you get an internet connection back to that secondary console. So honestly, it's ideal. There's no issues with that because how many people are going to be going out, playing their Switch, and using something on DLC and not being around Wi-Fi for a long period of time? Outside of being on an airplane or a long train ride, I couldn't imagine a situation arising where that could be a problem. And even still, it says you can play it for a certain amount of time without it pausing your game. So I don't really think it's that big of a deal. This is awesome news. I'm really happy to see Nintendo get with the times. I'm honestly shocked. I didn't see this coming, but I will take it because it's good news and I gotta recognize it for when they do it. Good job, Nintendo. Hopefully other companies don't go down this terrible route of DRM of how you used to be. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys today, but let me know in the comments what you guys think about this and if it might entice you to buy a secondary console for whatever reasons. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one.